Well, my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and Jaime and Paul and Miriam came down here in the early 30s. It's just like a little small country town was Miami Beach. Maybe it consisted of 20 blocks. And then my father-in-law saw an empty store. One day they had the whole place, and the family was running this whole place. Paul was the oldest, Jaime was next. Jaime is my husband, and Miriam was the little girl. They worked together because they were in business together. They sold the magazines together. They did everything together.
When I came to Miami Beach, I knew nobody, but there was a central focus in Miami Beach. It wasn't Lincoln Road, you know. It was that store on 5th Street that the Galbuts had, and the Menons were there, and they were the Machas there. I knew his father. He was in charge, just like Jaime is in charge.
Al's Restaurant, in those days, was a place where people congregated, talked about which horse was going to win the Kentucky Derby or the Florida Derby. It was very much like 50 years ago, the stage delicatessen run by Max Sassness in New York. It was like Grossinger's Hotels or the Nemerson in the Borscht Belt. It was a place where people went, felt comfortable, and knew the proprietors.
Everybody came there, don't you see? Even when World War II came, they had the registration of the soldiers and the sailors in that store. They had people like Clark Gable, Tyrone Power. I mean, the biggest of these people, Victor Mature, all these people came there, and they knew my mother-in-law. Clark Gable used to say, "Bessie, find me some eggs." He would call out his orders just like that, 2 sunny side up. And he didn't want anyone else to make his eggs but Bessie. This was not just a drugstore. This was a tag agency. We sold the driver's licenses to the people and their tags. And we sold stamps. They had a notary public. The notary public would marry you. They had a public stenographer. Whatever you wanted, you name it, and they had it.
There was a time when my father found out that my brother had stolen sheets of license forms. He was actually typing them out, filling them out, and he was selling them to his friends for $1/4 a license.
We used to make the food for the prisoners. You know, the jailhouse was about 3.5 blocks away. We had slot machines, that's true, and we had a pinball machine. And then it became a place to bury the people. Anybody needed a pauper's grave or something, they came out to where you're going to bury him, and he would arrange for the funerals. I mean, they did almost everything there.
It's that kind of spirit that built this city. They were among the real pioneers who infiltrated the city. It wasn't that they lived here. They were the city.
It was a way of life more than a restaurant. It was a place to go, a place to smile, a place to cry, a place to unload yourself, and a place that will never be forgotten in the minds of those who are still around to remember.
I've been working since I was 10 years old alongside every one of my cousins. If we weren't cooking in the restaurant, we were cleaning in the hardware store, we were driving on the trucks. There wasn't one child that didn't work since early age. And I think now, looking back, I think it's very important.
Well, everyone knows today the entrepreneurship of the Galbut family. And that didn't happen overnight. That was learned from Al and Bessie, his wife, and Hyman. And Jaime went on the Miami Beach City Commission. And he was a populist. Believe it or not, as much as entrepreneurs the Galbuts were, they were also populists. They were out for the poor. They tried to help the community. They always loaned a helping hand. They were charitable in their giving. sincerely charitable in their giving. So they were a great part of the development of Miami Beach.
There are many people who have come and passed through Miami Beach. This was the biggest World War II training ground for those that fought in the Pacific Theater, and they all passed through here. Millions upon millions of tourists over the years that have passed through. There's always a connection that somebody has with Miami Beach. But the Galbuts really have not passed through here. They have settled here, and their roots are as deep as anyone in this city's history. That is extraordinarily special and extraordinarily unique.
Anything that had to do with religious life in Miami Beach, they were first and foremost. I mean, in our own organization, I mean, Jaime was the president of the high school. All the boys were, besides going there, 3 of them have been presidents of the Hebrew Academy, great benefactors, and they've all been presidents of Beth Israel.
They permeate every facet of the fabric of the city. You don't know where they've been, they're just there. And they just do for the city, and they do what they should do, and they're just there. It's just, you expect it. It's just like you have electricity. You hit the switch and it goes on, and you got lights, and the same with the Galbuts. They're there, and they're going to do something, and it's going to get done if they take on the project.
You got 2 brothers that are prominent physicians and surgeons in Miami-Dade County, Florida. Russell is involved with Crescent, the largest converter of apartments in the United States of America, and everything started here in Miami Beach, Florida. Albie is a local attorney, and he also was involved in this process. He converted, he built, and he continues to do that, as well as practicing law. They went on and went all over the world and are continuing to do that. So the Galbuts were instrumental in changing not only the face of Miami Beach, but the face of many other cities in the United States.
They did it. They took their shot. I mean, it wasn't easy. I mean, they put their finances behind it. They put their name behind it, and they did it. A lot of people use other people's money. They use their own. And they put their whole family in there. So you knew that they were sincere.
They always got their sleeves rolled up, raising kids or grandchildren and whatever. So. But I mean, I think they're old Miami Beach and new Miami Beach.
They've been successful in taking over from their grandparents and their parents, and they're grooming their children to do the same thing. And I must admit that it's a wonderful thing to see, and I'm trying to do the same thing in my own family, which is a wonderful thing to emulate.
I remember when I was probably 8 years old and I went with my grandpa to watch Bruce on the planning board and watch Russell on the zoning board. So I remember seeing those things. And I remember my grandpa said, you see what your Uncle Russell does? He gives back to the community, and you're going to be on the board too someday. So, you know, we've grown up with it where when the time comes, you know, Russell or Bruce will say to me, you know, it's time for you to be on a board. You know, now it's time for you to do it. And I think that that's something that by them instilling how important it is to us, that we realize it and we remember seeing it as a child and something that we're going to pass on.
It spans generations. It's doctors, lawyers, builders, pioneers in creating Miami Beach. If any family can lay claim to being entitled to being recognized, it's the Galbut family.
My father achieved many things in his life that I don't believe that he will ever receive the proper acknowledgement. Nor did he ever thought, did he ever want, or did he ever run after. If by honoring my family, I have the opportunity to bring honor to my father then I'll accept the award.
My father was very direct and to the point, and had a way of saying things which always struck a message. He would say something like, don't worry about giving your kids the things you didn't have growing up. Worry about giving them the things you did have.
Me and my 3 siblings could tell you that he was very much a disciplinarian, but he was a man full of heart, and he believed in creating a community that had all the services that were necessary to be a great community.
I see now the way we're helping Keith and his generation succeed and make an impact on Miami Beach. And so I view what the next generation is doing as being important for my kids.
It was ingrained in us how Miami Beach is the best place in the world to live. And we had everything here. My father would always subtly remind us, it's 70 degrees and beautiful here. And that was like a message that Miami Beach has not changed. It's not just the weather, it's the entire package that is still the best place in the world to live.